when you look back, when you've seen what he has done, well, first of all, are you surprised how well he's done? And has it made you at all think you made a mistake letting him go?
From warming the bench under Guardiola to becoming a superstar at a title-challenging Chelsea, while his former team struggles to find their rhythm, Cole Palmer is shining brighter than ever. But here's the big question. Why did City let him go? And is Pep Guardiola secretly regretting it? This is why Pep Guardiola regrets selling Cole Palmer.
I'm here because we have an incredible results. Now, apparently, it doesn't look like, so we have had 35 really bad days in terms of results, but if you see in general of 100 games have been an incredible joy.
Manchester City is a team that has been living in the footballing penthouse for years. With all the money in the world, a world-class coach in Pep Guardiola, and a squad that's been built with precision and power, they've been untouchable. 4 consecutive Premier League titles, a historic treble, and the kind of dominance that made us all wonder if they'd ever be stopped. But here's the thing. Right now, City's looking mortal. Yeah, you heard that right. 5 defeats in their last 10 matches. For most teams, that's a bad run. For City, it's unthinkable. This is the same club with the highest wage bill in England, the 3rd highest in Europe, and a transfer budget that could buy a small country. But here's the catch. Their financial might isn't helping them out of this mess. At least not until the January transfer window rolls around, and that's where the cracks start to show. Let's backtrack a bit. Over the summer, City made some curious decisions. Sure, they bought in Ilkay Gundogan and Savinho, but they also made a fortune selling players like Julian Alvarez. They spent less than they earned, which is rare for a club like City, and now they're paying the price. The squad looks tired, stale even. 5 of their starters have been at the club since 2017, and several players are on the wrong side of 30. Kevin De Bruyne is 33, Kyle Walker is 34, and it's clear this team is crying out for some serious squad renewal. But here's the thing that stings for City fans. While their squad is aging, the club had a homegrown group of players from their academy, their own academy, who could have injected the energy and creativity they're missing. Players who weren't just potential stars, but were showing real promise. And what did City do? They sold them. Which brings us to Cole Palmer. This guy was the pride of the City Academy, a silky dribbler, a creative spark, and someone who seemed destined to be a key part of Guardiola's team. But instead of nurturing them, they let him go to Chelsea. For 42 million quid, sure, but what's 42 million pounds to Manchester City? It's a drop in the ocean. And now, Palmer is thriving at Chelsea, scoring in big games, and looking like the player City desperately needs right now. Imagine having a problem and realizing you already had the solution, but you sold it. That's what City fans are feeling right now. So here's the £1 million question. Does Pep Guardiola regret letting Cole Palmer go? Born and raised in Manchester, Cole Palmer is the epitome of a homegrown talent. He's a kid who came through City's academy, climbing the ranks with the talent that made everyone sit up and take notice. And let's be clear, Cole Palmer wasn't just good, he was exceptional. During his time with City's under-18 and under-21 teams, he was a goal machine. Over 2 seasons, he racked up a staggering 42 goals and 19 assists. Let that sink in for a second. For an academy player, those are elite numbers. Whether cutting inside from the wing, finding the net with a composed finish, or setting up his teammate with pinpoint passes, Palmer was the complete academy package. At the academy level, he was the guy who carried City to victory time and time again. Need a moment of brilliance in a tight game? Give it to Palmer. His coaches praised not just his technical ability, but his mentality. He was calm under pressure, confident in his skill, and always looking to make an impact. He captained City's under-18s to glory, leading by example and proving he was more than ready for bigger challenges. And it wasn't long before Pep Guardiola took notice. Palmer's performances in training and his hunger to improve earned him a promotion to the first team. At 18, he made his senior debut for City, stepping onto the pitch like he'd been doing it for years. Guardiola even compared him to Phil Foden, calling him special. And when Pep Guardiola calls you special, you know you're doing something right. But what set Palmer apart wasn't just his numbers or his composure. It was the way he played. He had that rare blend of elegance and efficiency, gliding past defenders like they weren't even there. His left foot was a wand, capable of bending the ball into the top corner or threading it through impossible gaps. At City, Palmer was supposed to be the next big thing, the heir to the likes of David Silva and Kevin De Bruyne. and for a while it seemed like he was on track. He scored in the Champions League, starred in domestic cups, and showed flashes of brilliance every time he got his chance. Fans were excited, and there was a real buzz about what he could achieve in a City shirt. But here's the twist. Despite all his potential, Palmer wasn't given the runway he needed to take off. Instead of being the next Foden, he became the next Jadon Sancho, another academy gem who slipped through City's fingers. And now, as he lights it up for Chelsea, City fans are left wondering, why wasn't he given a chance to shine at the Etihad? So who is Cole Palmer? He's a homegrown hero, a generational talent, and quite possibly the one who got away from Manchester City. Before we continue, please take a moment to subscribe to the channel. It would really help us. Thank you, and now back to the video. Chelsea swooped in with a £42 million offer and City accepted. Now that's a hefty price for a 21-year-old with limited first-team experience, but Chelsea saw something special in Cole Palmer, and honestly, can you blame them? Palmer wasn't just a squad player, he was a potential game-changer, a guy who could spark magic on the pitch. For Chelsea, Palmer was a key piece of their rebuild. They're a club in transition, trying to find their footing after a rocky few seasons. And in Palmer, they saw a young, hungry player who could grow into a superstar, a player who could inject creativity and energy into their attack, someone who could make things happen in the big moments. Chelsea's vision for Palmer was clear. Palmer didn't just settle in at Chelsea. He's become one of their star players. Last season alone, he racked up an insane 27 goals and 15 assists across all competitions. For a guy who many thought wasn't ready for the big stage, that's mind-blowing. Let's break it down. In his debut Premier League season for Chelsea, Palmer scored 22 goals and added 11 assists to his tally. That's a total of 33 goal contributions in his first season. And this isn't just padding his stats against weaker teams, this guy shows up in the big moments. He's been scoring in crucial games, setting up match winners, and doing everything Chelsea hoped he would, and then some. And it's not just about the numbers. Palmer's style of play has brought something Chelsea desperately needed: creativity and flair. He's a game changer, someone who can turn a match on its head with a single moment of brilliance. Whether it's a stunning solo goal, a perfectly timed through ball, or his ability to read the game and exploit space, he's been that guy for Chelsea. Meanwhile, back at City, things aren't looking so great, with everyone except Erling Haaland struggling for goals. Watching Palmer light up Stamford Bridge has been a tough pill to swallow. City's decision to sell him is looking more questionable by the day, especially with Phil Foden, one of City's golden boys, still waiting to score his first Premier League goal this season. Oh, and get this, Palmer already has 11 league goals this season, just 2 behind Haaland and Mo Salah in the Golden Boot race. The guy is not just performing, he's competing with the best in the world. For City fans, this has to feel like the ultimate what could have been. Guardiola and the club's directors thought Palmer wasn't ready, that he couldn't reach his full potential at the Etihad. But at Chelsea, he's proven them wrong game after game. And let's not forget, he wanted to stay at City. He believed he could make it there, and he was not given the opportunity to show himself. Imagine how different things might look if they'd just given him a real chance. So here we are, watching Cole Palmer thrive at Chelsea while City are struggling for goals and creativity in their midfield. If this isn't the definition of irony, I don't know what is. One thing's for sure though, Palmer's making it very clear that selling him was one of City's biggest mistakes in recent years. Aside from scoring more goals, there are other reasons why Pep might regret the decision of not giving him a proper chance early on. Cole Palmer wasn't just a promising young talent at City. He was the guy everyone thought could step into Kevin De Bruyne's throne someday. He wasn't just a winger or a squad player, he was the heir apparent, the creative force waiting to take centre stage. And looking at what he's doing now, it's hard not to wonder how City let this one slip through their fingers. At Chelsea, Palmer has blossomed into more than just a winger. He's an offensive leader, capable of playing across the front three or as a number 10. That versatility, it's exactly what City are missing right now. With De Bruyne sidelined for most of the season due to injuries, the Belgian maestro has still looked like City's best creative hope whenever he's on the pitch. But let's be real, De Bruyne is 33, battling a sports hernia, and has torn his hamstring twice in the last year. He's not the long-term solution anymore. City needed a plan, and that plan could have been Palmer. Imagine if he'd stayed. He could have learned directly from De Bruyne, soaked up every bit of that footballing genius, and eventually carried the baton forward. Instead, City sold him, only to spend big on players like Jeremy Doku and Matheus Nunes. And honestly, let's talk about those two for a second. Doku came in for £55 million, and while he's a terrifying winger on his day, his output hasn't exactly been groundbreaking. Just 4 goals and 12 assists in all competitions. Compare that to Palmer's numbers and it's not even close. Then there's Nunes, who cost £53 million and was supposed to bring world-class midfield quality to City. But here's the kicker. He's barely contributed. 12 Premier League starts, no goals, and how Guardiola's trying to use him on the wings. Let's just say it's not working. Meanwhile, Palmer is out there showing the world what City let go. His ability to cut in from the right, create chances, and finish with finesse? Sound familiar? That's because he looked like the perfect replacement for Riyad Mahrez too. Remember when Palmer scored in the Community Shield against Arsenal and the UEFA Super Cup against Sevilla? That wasn't luck. That was a glimpse of what he could have done week in and week out for City. And now here we are. City are still relying on an aging De Bruyne, struggling for creativity on the wings, and wondering how to fill the gaps he'll leave when his contract runs out. Oh, and the potential replacement? Florian Wirtz? He's going to cost around £100 million. Imagine having a player like Palmer, homegrown and ready to step up, and letting him walk away for just £42 million. This isn't just a case of a missed opportunity, it's a full-blown regret. Palmer could have been the guy to lead City's next era, the one who carried on the legacy of De Bruyne and Mahrez. Instead, he's thriving at Chelsea, proving every week that City got this one wrong. While it's easy to say Pep Guardiola must be kicking himself for letting Palmer go, let's not forget, Pep isn't exactly short on talent in his squad. One name that hasn't gotten as much attention this season but deserves a mention is Oscar Bob. If you haven't heard much about him yet, don't worry, it's not because he's lacking in ability. Bob is a massive talent, and if there's one thing Pep is good at, it's spotting a diamond in the rough and polishing it until it's world class. Think of Phil Foden or Rico Lewis. Bob could very well be the next in line. Bob's versatility is one of his strongest assets. Like Palmer, he's not just a one-trick pony. He's comfortable playing across the attack. He can slide into the midfield and has a natural creativity that fits perfectly into Pep's system. The kid oozes potential, and while we haven't seen much of him this season, don't be surprised if he becomes a key figure sooner rather than later. Pep is also known for playing the long game. Look at how he eased players like Bernardo Silva and Jack Grealish into their roles, even when the critics were screaming for instant results. Bob might be following that same trajectory, a quiet start but with all the tools to become a star. And here's the thing, Bob's emergence could explain why Pep wasn't overly concerned about letting Palmer go. Sure, Palmer's success at Chelsea stings, but Pep probably saw Bob as the next academy graduate ready to step up. And if history has taught us anything about Guardiola, he's not afraid to make bold decisions. He bets on the system, the squad depth, and his ability to develop players. It's also worth noting that City's academy is designed to churn out talent. While not every player jumps to the first team, the ones who do often go on to thrive. Foden, Lewis, and potentially Bob are proof that Pep's process works, even if there are a few misses along the way. So while the headlines might scream regret every time Palmer scores for Chelsea, Pep might not feel the same way. He's got Bob waiting in the wings, literally, and there's every chance the young Norwegian could make us all forget about Palmer in a few years' time. In Pep's world, it's not just about what a player is doing right now, it's about what they can do for the team in the future. And if Bob lives up to his potential, we might look back at this and say, yep, Pep had it right all along. But what do you think? Does Pep regret selling Cole Palmer? And would he have made such a difference if he was in the Manchester City squad? Well, let me know in the comments. And when you're done, you can watch our last video on why Rodri is the missing piece in the puzzle for Manchester City.